David here with Fig Boot on Pens. I've mentioned it previously, but we have a local pen club in the area that meets up on a monthly basis. And it's a really great opportunity to get together with a bunch of other pen folks and learn from each other, share collections and experiences and the such. The gentleman who organizes our club is named Tom, and he does a great job of planning the themes for our meetings, and we have different people come in and give different presentations on various topics. And this weekend, Tom's actually going to be giving a presentation on the history of Pelikan pens. He's an authorized Pelikan dealer, and he has an extensive Pelikan collection, both modern and vintage. And while we were at DC this past weekend, Tom let me borrow a very special pen, the Pelikan M800 Kyokko. What I'm going to do is go over some of the parts and the features of the Kyokko, talk about some of the things I care for, some of the things I don't care for, give some measurements, some size comparisons, and then provide a writing sample. Now, we don't have a box, but this is the Pelikan M800 Kyokko. This pen came out in 2005 as a set. There was the Kyokko and the Gecko. The Kyokko translates from German as sunlight, and the Gecko translates as moonlight. These were a limited edition of 200 sets, and this is just some stunning, stunning Raiden work on this pen. The Kyokko here is made with abalone shell from the Sea of Japan. And the Sea of Japan is actually the area between Japan and mainland Asia. Since the stripes on this pen are rather narrow, the parts of the abalone used for the Raiden is kind of limited to the most colorful parts in order to perfect this rainbow color. The process involves placing the abalone on the ground and then actually flattening it out with hard stone into very thin sheets. And then these sheets are really cut up into narrow strips and then affixed to the barrel and the cap and the finial. And then it's coated with a lacquer, and then the surface is polished. The dimensions and weight of this pen are virtually identical to a standard M800. We're talking about fractions of millimeters in difference of a gram or two of weight. So it's virtually undetectable. We'll start here at the finial. This thing is unbelievable. First of all, the top is black resin rather than the typical M800 metal, and the Pelikan logo was actually hand painted on using maquille techniques. I mean, just look at that. It is stunning, and it's surrounded by small abalone shell particles. I'm a big fan of the Pelikan chiseled finial, which transitions into a clip band for the traditional Pelikan beak clip. And then here on the cap, we actually have the number of the pen. And this happens to be 143 out of 200. And I love that this is hand painted on rather than engraved or printed. The barrel tapers up ever so slightly to the cap band, which consists of a smaller band and then a larger band that actually says Pelikan, Souveran, and then Germany. There is a small step down to the barrel, and then the barrel actually bows up slightly. We're talking about a fraction of a millimeter up and then about half of a millimeter down. So it's not perfectly straight. There's a slight bow to it. And then there's another small transition down to the piston knob, and then there is two bands, or two gold bands on the piston knob. And then the end of the pen is slightly rounded. The cap twists off to reveal this beautiful two-toned oblique triple broad nib, and which we'll see in the writing sample is very interesting to use. And here's the plastic feed. The section begins with a gold band, and then it's flared here at the end, and then it tapers up slightly. There are some threads right about here, but they're not steep whatsoever, or not sharp whatsoever. And then right next to the band, you really can't see it that much here, but this is an ink window. This is an ink window that usually you only can see the ink when it's run out. It's a little tough sometimes to see it otherwise. And then one thing else I didn't show you was on the end of the barrel is the artist's mark, hand painted as well. And I just think that is very, very cool. I find the M800 section to be very, very comfortable, and this pen is very well balanced. The cap posts securely, and in my opinion doesn't backweight the pen too much, but I do find myself using my M800s posted more often than not. I like that the artist mark is aligned directly with the nib, so it's always just straight up and down, which is kind of nice. And that when it is in your hand, which that means is it's always facing up and it's not rubbing on your hand. Now, I don't know over time if that could potentially rub off since it's paint. Probably not, but I just like the fact that I'm not rubbing against that whenever I'm writing with it. Now, I did say that this came in a set. There was the Kyokko and the Gecko. Now, I don't have a Gecko on me, but here's a picture from the Pelikan website. The main difference is the Gecko has a much wider stripe, and the abalone they use actually comes from Australia rather than Japan. The Japanese abalone has a tendency to be more purple, and the Australian a little bluer. When this set came out in 2005, it retailed for $2,500 for the two pens combined. I searched the internet to try to see what they were going for now, and I really couldn't find a single Kyokko or Gecko available for sale. So that they might be a little tough to find on the secondary market since this pen came out 11 years ago and the new stock has long been sold out. So let's take a look at some measurements and then some size comparisons, and then I'll provide a writing sample. So here we go with some size comparisons for the Pelikan M800 Kyokko. It's just really a stunning pen. You can see here in the light just the way that the light reflects the mother of pearl, the abalone in there. It's just very, very, very cool. But this is a standard M800. You can see that it's virtually the exact same size. But in regard to some other Pelikans, here it is with a Pelikan M1000. And then here it is with an M600. And then here it is with an M205. Actually, yeah, this is a 205. So you can just see the variety of Pelikan sizes there. And then in regard to some other examples, here it is with a TWSBI Diamond 580, and then with a Lamy All-Star, and then with a Pilot Metropolitan. So here we go with the writing sample for the, well, this is something I mentioned before, is that this is an oblique triple broad nib, and the big thing with an oblique nib is that you really have to change the orientation of the pen in order to make the nib's flat surface maintain contact with the paper. If you're right-handed, you'll use what's called a left foot oblique, and a left-hander will use a right foot oblique. And what footed means is that it's the tine of the nib which is shorter than the other. Here's a picture of this nib, and you can see how this is for a right-hander because the left tine is lower. So what you really have to do is you have to rotate the nib counterclockwise for a right-hander in order to really find the sweet spot. It might take a little bit of trial and error depending on the pen that you have, but what you do, the nib performs very, very well. So what we have here is the Pelikan M800 Kyokko, and this is a we'll call it an oblique triple broad nib, and this is the ink is Pelikan. It's the Edelstein Tanzanite. And here we go with the, oh, actually here, let's show you what it looks like. This is what the Tanzanite looks like. It's kind of a blue-black, similar to like the diamine shimmery seas without the shimmer. And here is compared to the Bungbox 4B as well. The Tanzanite's a real nice blue-black, and the bottles are nice as well. This is what the bottles look like. It's just a nice design, and I just like all the glass on here, so it's a pretty cool bottle. So here we go with the rest of the writing sample. Lazy dog. Like I said, you really have to find the sweet spot here, and it's not something that you're going to put a lot of pressure in to get a lot of line variation. The line variation is going to happen from the nib itself. So if I go up and down, there's just a small amount of line width, but then side to side there is considerably more. And in regard to wetness, that this is a decently wet nib. It is a triple broad. In regard to reverse writing, you're really not going to want to write with this in reverse, because then all of a sudden you're having to use it left-handed. So even if I just go straight, well, that's not bad. If I just use it straight upside down, it actually works somewhat well. And in regard to fast writing, once you have the orientation right, which I didn't right here, it works really, really well. And it is very smooth and pleasant to use once you find that sweet spot and you kind of train yourself to do this. So I wanted to give thanks to Tom for the loan of this beautiful pen. The Kyokko has really grown on me, and I'm going to regret giving this back. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later.